Welcome into OutKick, the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope that all of you are having a fantastic Tuesday, wherever you may be across the country. Last OutKick show of the week this week. I am traveling to Miami. I'm hoping to take off before the snow starts tonight. Got a bunch of advertiser meetings down in South Florida. I want you to know Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching your favorite players during the games. And right now, I've got a couple of picks for you. College basketball, Cam Carter, more than 16.5 points tonight. Games going on in college basketball. And Walter Clayton, guard for the Florida Gators, more than 2.5 threes tonight. If both of those hit, boom, you are a winner. College basketball action. Download the app, use code OutKick, $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is, again, LSU, Cam Carter, more 16.5 points tonight. Walter Clayton, more than 2.5 threes. Go to Prize Picks, use code OutKick. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You can play in Florida. You can play in Georgia, you can play in California, you can play in Texas, 40 states, 13 million people playing. PrizePicks.com, code OutKick, $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, we've got a lot to dive into here. Let me start with this right off the top. I hope that President Trump will go to Boston on Thursday night for the U.S. game against Canada in the hockey tournament that's going on right now. This thing has been incredibly entertaining. I would have never believed that I would have been watching hockey on a Saturday night between the U.S. and Canada, but as soon as I saw that they booed our national anthem and there were 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, I said I am all in on this. And I got asked earlier, I was doing my friends Lance Taylor, Jim Dunaway, Ryan Brown. I was doing their show out of Birmingham. And they said, what do you expect the U.S. fans to do in Boston for the Canadian national anthem? And I said, I expect them to boo. And I don't think that's a bad thing when you are going head-to-head with another country and you have the home field advantage, the home ice advantage. I wasn't offended that Canada booed the United States. I would expect that Canada, which hasn't won the Stanley Cup since 1993 and doesn't have a lot going for it otherwise, would desperately want to beat the big bad United States in their chosen sport. And the fact that we won 3-1 in Canada right after they booed the national anthem, to me, was just more salt in the wounds of the Canadian hockey players. So I would expect that in Boston, we will boo the Canadian anthem. And let me say, I got no problem with this. No problem at all. I don't think it's disrespectful. If we're playing Mexico in soccer and the game is in Mexico, I would prefer that you not throw urine on me, which is evidently a thing that happens, but I would expect that you would boo the United States national anthem if it plays. That doesn't feel, when there's a real rivalry, I don't have a problem. Take it outside of the country. I don't have a problem when someone plays their fight song in a college football stadium and they're the visiting team. I don't have a problem with the home team booing. I would expect that to happen. That's what happens in rivalries. Now, you know, if Costa Rica is playing against the U.S. in soccer and we booed the Costa Rican national anthem, I think that would be a bit much because there's no sort of rivalry there at all. Mexico, U.S. For soccer, hockey, Canada, U.S., I don't think it's a big thing to boo the national anthem. I really don't. When it's the actual nations competing. Now, I do think it's a bit weird. Canada looks kind of like a wuss country, frankly, when the NHL teams are playing and they play the national anthem and then they play the Canadian anthem too. and in Canada they're booing the U.S. anthem. That looks weak to me when, I don't know, the San Jose Sharks are playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Maple Leafs fans are like, boo, during a regular season hockey game. That feels a little bit weak to me, and I would feel similarly if, I don't know, Toronto's playing the Carolina, what are they, the Hurricanes, and people in Carolina or the Nashville Predators are booing. Like, it's an NHL game. That feels a little bit weak. But when the countries are going at it and they're competing, I don't have a problem. Am I in the minority here? I don't know. What do you guys think? I may need to put up a poll on this. I don't have a problem with it. And I don't think most people would. In fact, let me put up a poll right now. What should the phrasing of the poll be? Do you, let's see if I can type it correctly, have a problem with Canada booing the United States national anthem before a U.S. versus Canada national hockey game? Let's see. I'm genuinely curious what the answer is going to be. I do not have a problem. I'm telling you in real time that I do not have a problem with this. Here is the question. Do you have a problem with Canada booing the United States national anthem before a U.S. versus Canada hockey game being played in Canada? All right, there it is. I'm going to say, I like to predict sometimes when I post a poll. I think it's going to be 60% no, 40% yes. So I think the audience will wait and see. We get like 1,000 votes here. Because once you get like 1,000, it doesn't change very much. I've got a couple of polls that I'll reference. So this just went up. Do you have a problem with Canada booing the United States national anthem before a U.S. versus Canada hockey game being played in Canada? And we will see what the results actually reflect. My bet is 60% are going to say no, 40% are going to say yes. And I don't have a problem. So the reason why I'm using it, I got to ask this question, and I actually think it's a good question for Thursday night. I would like to see the president there. I am going to try to watch this game, although I've got obligations for work. But to me, that's what a rivalry should be. I don't have a problem with Mexico booing the United States. And by the way, I don't have a problem with United States soccer fans booing Mexico either. And by the way, the other thing is it a smart thing for fans to do? That's the secondary, maybe more interesting question, because to me, when you boo the other team's national anthem, you probably add motivation to the team that you're playing against. I guarantee you, if I had been on the U.S. hockey team and I'm playing on the road in Canada and they play the national anthem and I hear the Canadian fans booing us, my intensity level is going from 10, it's probably already at a 10, it's hockey, to like 14. And I don't think it was coincidental that we immediately had 3 fights. So, do you have a problem with it? I don't. Is it smart? Probably not. Probably not smart, because I think it encourages so many people out there. By the way, 1,000 votes, dead even 50-50. Dead even 50-50 on do you have a problem with it? And by the way, your standard should be the exact same regardless of the country, right? I'm not offended by it. I respect it because it's a rivalry, much like when you boo a opposing team's fight song in your stadium. If Mexico is coming to the United States and we're desperate rivals, I don't have a problem with people booing the Mexican national anthem. And I don't have a problem in Mexico with them booing the United States anthem. And similarly, if U.S. fans in Boston boo the Canadian national anthem, and I think they will, I don't have a problem with that, just like I don't have a problem with Canada booing for the U.S. national anthem. It's just kind of a fun debate. So get out there and make your voices heard. You can go in. Again, it's a good debate when a poll can end up dead even on what the perspective is. And right now, it's straight up 50-50 whether people are bothered by it. In fact, no has now taken a small lead. I said I thought it would end up 60-40 before all is said and done. All right, right now, they are debating the future of the college football playoff. And reports are that they are trying to decide, hey, do we want to go with a 14 or a 16-team playoff? And there has been talk about the SEC guaranteeing itself 4 teams and the Big Ten guaranteeing itself 4 teams, and the ACC gets 2 guarantees, and the Big 12 gets 2, and then you got Notre Dame and the math and all this, and then a non-Power 5. Here's what I would do. I would go straight to a 16-team playoff. I would play the first round at home, 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, 3 versus 14, top 8 seeds host. I would play the second round, ideally, on campus as well. But if you can't do that because you have to keep the bowls happy for some reason, then I would just keep the seeding correct, right? So one would be slotted to play 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. You know how the brackets work. And then in the Final Four, I would play the Final Four on January 1st, and then I'd play the championship game a week later. Now, I asked you guys, what would you – and by the way, I would only go 1 to 16 college football playoff. I would have no guaranteed spots because some years there might be 6 SEC or Big Ten teams that deserve to get in. Other years there might be 2 or 3. ACC might have a great year. Big 12 might have a great year. There might be multiple non-Power 5 teams that work their way into the top 16. No guarantees. I would have no guarantees. I would straight up take 1 to 16 in the college football playoff rankings. Top 8 teams get to host a game. No buys, no guaranteed spots, 1 to 16. One year you might end up with 6 Big Ten teams. Next year you might get 6 in the SEC. Right? Next year, you might get 2 SEC, 4 ACC. I don't know. I would simply take 1 to 16, period. Now, you guys voted. I said, what's your ideal playoff size? What is the ideal? I'm trying to get a bug here, like Mr. Miyagi back in the day, trying to snap it with my fingers. I don't know if I got it or not. What's the ideal amount of playoff teams? 37% of you, a slim majority, said 12 playoff teams is the right number. Only 5% of you said 14. 14 is the same number that make it in the NFL, right? 7 and 7, one team gets a bye. I think I'm correct in that. 34% of you agree with me that 16 is the right number. 24% of you actually want to go back and just have 4 teams, which is what we've had for much of history. So a preponderance, 76% of you would prefer 12, 14, or 16 teams in the playoff. 24% of you would prefer 4. Now, you're right, there is no option for 8, but I presume that it would probably be the 3rd or 4th most popular, probably the 4th most popular option, but I can only have 4 options here. 16 to me is the right number. Get to 16, no buys, 1 to 16, no guaranteed spots for a non-Power 5, no guaranteed spots for the SEC or the Big Ten. Simply take the top 16 teams, period. That, to me, is the right solution. I hope that is where they end up before all is said and done. All right, a couple of other things that I wanted to hit here before I head to the airport. I meant to hit this yesterday. I think I teased that, in fact, I would. There is over the weekend, they came out with the top 16 seeds. We are basically 1 month from the college basketball NCAA tournament being seeded. And to give you a prediction of where we're headed and how things look, they released the top 16 seeds. Top 4, we've never seen anything like this. Auburn, number 1 overall seed, Alabama, number 2 overall seed. Duke, 3. Florida Gators, 4. So 3 SEC teams getting 1 seeds. This was before the games were played on Saturday. So Auburn has certainly solidified itself as the 1 seed. Probably has been a bit of a drop off from there. 2 seeds. Tennessee at 5. Texas A&M at 6. So 5 of the top 6 teams in college basketball right now, according to the NCAA tournament projections from the SEC. I never would have believed this would ever be a reality. As somebody who grew up a big Tennessee basketball fan, as somebody who used to go to SEC basketball tournaments in Lexington, in Memphis, in Nashville, I've been to a lot of these over the years. Atlanta, I never would have believed, Birmingham, I think, I never would have believed that the SEC would have 5 of the top 6 teams in the college basketball tournament. Then you've got, this was Saturday. Again, games have been played since. Then you've got Purdue at 7. You've got at 8, Houston. So those are your top seeds. And then Wisconsin, Iowa State, Kentucky, Arizona, Texas Tech, Kansas, Michigan, and St. John's are the 16 top seeds right now, according to the NCAA tournament. Again, that came out on Saturday, before the games were played Saturday, and before the games were played on Monday, and certainly before the games that are going to be played on Tuesday. But to me, I watched the Alabama-Auburn game over the weekend. I meant to react to it. What a blockbuster. I would have never believed, in addition to the fact that the SEC would have 5 of the top 6 seeds potentially, I would have never believed that Alabama and Auburn would be in a 1 versus 2 matchup in basketball before they were in a 1 versus 2 matchup in football. Just never would have believed that that was possible, yet we just went through it. It was absolutely fantastic. Credit. Coleman Coliseum was electric. Great rivalry game. You guys know that I love Bruce Pearl, but I also like Nate Oates. I saw Nate Oates at the when I met Trump at the Georgia-Alabama game. Nate Oates, a good dude. I like him. Great coach. Bruce Pearl, I've been a friend for a long time. Love Bruce Pearl. What a win for Auburn. I believe that Auburn is going to win the national title this year. I think Auburn has the best team. I think they have been the most challenged. And I think Bruce Pearl's team is going to win the national championship this year. That's my prediction. And I was going to look this up because national champion odds right now, Auburn plus 330, Duke plus 450, Houston 9-1, Alabama 9.5-1, Florida 10-1, and Tennessee 17-1. So that is the top 6 most likely teams to win the title. Then Iowa State at 20-1, Texas A&M 30-1, Wisconsin 35-1, Texas Tech, St. John's, and Purdue and Kentucky all at 35-1 as well. So that is roughly your top 10 most likely teams to win the NCAA tournament as I am speaking to you about a month away from the tournament officially being seeded. Finally, story out there that I think is significant, reports that Netflix is now going to be going after Sunday afternoon football games. These are the games that are distributed right now by CBS and Fox. Everything is moving towards streaming. Netflix has money the likes of which Disney, Comcast, Fox, and CBS do not. So where does this lead? My best case scenario for all of you, you give Clay Travis a magic wand and you say you are representing every sports fan in America. What would I like to see happen here? I would like for every single NFL game to be available like every single NCAA tournament game is available now. Many of you out there are as old as I am, and you remember when we only had regional NCAA tournament action. That means you would get the local team in your area, But in order to watch another team or multiple games, you would have to go out to the sports bar. Now we have CBS, TBS, TNT, and True, and it is often the case that there are 4 simultaneous college basketball games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on television, so that you can choose whatever game you want to watch. And do you know what's happened? Ratings have gone up. Back in the day, they said, oh, if we take away the regional option, the number of viewers is actually going to go down. The opposite happened. Because when you give sports fans the opportunity, the game that you have regionally might be garbage. It's not uncommon. Remember when they would switch away? Those of you who are old enough to remember this, they would suddenly be like, hey, your game's decided. We're flipping away to a much closer game. It was super exhilarating. Now you can watch the scores all on the screen, and you can be like, this is a 20-point game. But, man, over on True TV, there's 6 minutes left in that game. I'm going to flip over. I'm going to watch. The ratings have gone up. When you give fans the opportunity to watch games of their choice, you actually give them more of an incentive to get involved and watch more. I think the exact same thing would happen in the NFL. So what I would hope is that Netflix would add to the available number of games that I can watch. I'm unfortunately held hostage oftentimes by watching my awful Tennessee Titans. That should be available on over-the-air broadcast. Seems like a good plan to me. But the other games should, to me, all be available on Netflix. So when there's 8 games kicking off at noon, my time, 1 on the East Coast, instead of me having to sit down in front of the red zone and try to keep tabs on games that way, I should be able to go on Netflix or Amazon or whatever channel it is, and I should be able to pick any game that I want based on the quality of the game and also how close it is, and maybe the game that I bet on. Whatever that context is, I think the NCAA tournament actually gives a perfect test case, and the NFL ratings would go up and the viewership would go up, especially in that 1 Eastern, noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, 10 a.m. West Coast window, if you gave all of those games kicking off the opportunity for fans to watch. Bigger picture, I think they should start games at different times. Why kick off every game at 1 Eastern by and large? Why not kick off on the East Coast some games at 11 a.m.? I know they're talking about playing in Europe, but why not schedule those games out so that there is a difference in the way that all of this is going to play out? Does that make sense to you? It makes sense to me. In other words, the better options you give to fans, the more they reward you with watching. The better the quality of the experience from a fan perspective, the more people who will consume your product. I would say the NCAA tournament, perfect example of that. It should be, in my mind, the model going forward for the NFL. Okay. Love all of you. Go sign up for Prize Picks. Use code OutKick. I'm headed down to Miami. Good luck, Nashville, dealing with the snow that's supposed to hit tonight. And I will be back with you guys on Monday on OutKick the show. I'll be doing the Clay Travis, Buck Sexton show with Buck down in Miami for the rest of the week. So you can still get 3 hours of daily radio from me. Appreciate all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I'm Clay Travis, and this has been OutKick the show.